Bible says we perish for lack of knowledge. But today we're trying to, I guess what they say, beat that perishing. And we're bringing knowledge to the masses. We're small in number, but we want to make sure we give everyone an opportunity to understand about real estate and about the importance, the value of owning property. I have 4 dynamic women here from different aspects of real estate. We have Ms. Tish Lynn from the Center of Heirs Property. We have Ms. Drayton and Ms. Noel Nelson from 21st Century, and Ms. Deborah Stewart from First Citizens. And they're going to be speaking today about how heirs property works, what you can do in order to make sure that you're maintaining it within the family, the importance of a legacy. Ms. Tish is going to give us some history about African Americans and property, and Ms. Catherine is going to talk to us about real estate and what you have to go through in order to get through it. She's also going to talk to you about maybe some property that she has. And then Ms. Stewart is going to talk about things that you can do in order to obtain a loan when it comes to real estate. So first, I'm going to introduce Ms. Tish Ann. She's the creative director. Communication director.
It gets creative.
It gets creative now. For Center for Heirs Property. And we were talking earlier, and they do a multitude of things that she's going to talk about as well, but this is not going to be the first that we're going to do together. So I introduce to you all Ms. Tish Lynn. Thank you.
I want to thank Ms. Manigault. This community is blessed to have her here. We've met a couple of times, and for someone to organize something like this and bring us all in here, it's so important to the community, and it's a privilege to be here. Thank you. I'm going to talk to you about the Center for Heirs Property Preservation, but first I want to ask how many of you know about heirs property, have heard about heirs property? So, first of all, you'll know a little bit about what I'm talking about, but it's amazing how many misunderstandings there are about what is heirs property, how to resolve it, and how a family can do that. So I'm going to tell you about the center, which helps families clear title to their land so that they can own it safely, legally, and turn it into the asset that it should be for a family. Heirs property is property that has, at one point in its ownership, however far away or near, was passed down without a will, or was not probated according to the law of South Carolina. Passing it down without a will turns that property into heirs property, which means there's a name on the deed, that person has passed without a will, and it then becomes owned by the next line of heirs. And that line is marriages and children and so forth. So it becomes owned by multiple family members. And when that happens, that land really becomes more of a liability than an asset. If you own heirs property, you can't qualify to get a loan or a mortgage to fix your house up, to start a small business, to make use of that land. Miss Yvonne Knight Carter, good morning, welcome. Good morning. I want you to know Miss Manigault right here. You do know. Okay. I'm thrilled that Miss Yvonne is here because Miss Yvonne has been working with the center, is on our board, lives in Monk's Corner, has come home to family land where she grew up, and is making the most of it with the second part of our work, which is our forestry land management program, and I'll get to that. And I might ask Ms. Yvonne if she feels up to it, to talk about how the center has worked with her. But first, so heirs property owned among multiple family members has limited use to that family because you can't leverage it for a mortgage or a loan and be able to do something with that land. The center began as a project Coastal Community Foundation in 2002. And the Ford Foundation came to community foundations and said, go out of your normal area of doing work and find out what the problems are and what needs to happen, what program we might fund. And the Center for the Coastal Community Foundation went out into the more rural areas and asked, what is it you need? What are the problems? And all the problems you can imagine came forward. Lack of infrastructure, educational challenges, lack of access to medical care. But what kept coming up underneath it was, we own property we can't do anything with. That was Heir's property. When Hurricane Hugo came through way before this, in '89, it opened up the issue of Heir's property because people were paying for insurance and their houses were hurt and their property was damaged, and FEMA wasn't going to restore anything to them because who would get the money? It was Heir's property. Who gets the money? It's a lot of people. And to determine who those heirs are is a whole process. So Hugo was kind of a moment where a lot of Heir's property owners, A, were hurt twice by the storm and then having paid insurance and FEMA wasn't going to help them. And B, because their property was Heir's property and they couldn't put it back into the shape it was in. So the center was a project that came out of that, going into the community and realizing that Heir's property as an asset that should be an asset for the family was something they couldn't do anything with. So the center began its legal help, and it did legal education. There are 3 buckets of work. The first is called prevention. Prevent the growth of Heir's property. How do you do that? You have a will drafted. And we were talking about it. There's a lot of hesitancy to get your will drafted sometimes. You'd be surprised across the country, the people who don't have wills. There's a feeling, if I write that will, I might drop dead tomorrow. Or, or what should I, or I don't have anything of value. Why should I have a will drafted? And in fact, you have more than you might realize. And a will is very, very important so that you can say in that will, I want my land, the things I own, to go to a specific person or persons. Otherwise, just like Heir's property, when you pass, it'll just go to a lot of people in heirs. So the center began with its prevention, which was free wills clinics, which we do offer in communities that we serve. We serve 15 counties along the coast and inland. We provide free wills clinics, and Ms. Manigault and I talked about that. This is a beautiful church with lots of room, and we could easily do a wills clinic here. So I hope maybe in 2020 we'll schedule that to do at no cost to those who come, and we will do a simple will. That's part of the prevention. Education is part of the prevention that we do. In other words, we bring educational seminars into a community. We could do that here as well. A lawyer and a forester come into a community and they present an educational seminar to talk about Heir's property, how to resolve it, and also to talk to you about the forest management program that we offer. Probating estates. If someone passes in the state of South Carolina, even if you have a will, if you don't legally probate that estate within 10 years of the passing of that individual, it then goes to the state to decide what happens to that person's assets, their property, their things. So you want to probate that estate legally, and it requires legal help. So the center also provides those legal services to probate estates. And the more we have been doing the work, the more people know that now. So we get more probates before they've expired, if you know what I mean. And that prevents a lot of future complication if you can probate an estate. So that's the law in South Carolina, and you have to do it legally. All of these direct legal services through the center are free. You may be asked to help with what a title search might cost. Minimal thing things. And if you can't do that, we have some funding to help pay for that as well. So all of the direct legal services, which could cost as much as $30,000 or $40,000 with a private attorney to clear title on land or probate an estate, all of those services are free through the center. So prevention is key. Prevent the growth of heirs property through wills, through probating estates, through education. The second part of our work were the direct legal services. And since 2005, this organization has been a free, as we say, freestanding nonprofit organization. We have an office in Charleston. We see clients in Beaufort. We go to Georgetown to a location on a regular basis and see clients there. We have a new office that has opened in Orangeburg to cover that more inland. First we were just along the coast, Georgetown to Beaufort and Jasper, covering those counties. Now we moved in. We want to cover the whole state because there's such a great need. There's over 100,000 acres of heirs property, and we know that's low as an estimate, across the 15 counties we serve, to protect. We know there's more, but we also know there's a lot of distrust in the community to come forward and talk about heirs property, because families have lost so much of this land. It is too easily lost. I always hesitate to say how easy, but I do tell communities like you how easy it is to lose heirs property. It used to be thought of as a safe way to own land, and maybe it was back a ways, but with development and people coming to this state and wanting to buy property, it's not safe anymore. And this is how easily it can be lost. If I wanted a piece of property, I know where it is, I look it up in the tax rolls, I find the name of someone listed, maybe it's just the one who's paying the taxes if it's heirs property, which is often true. It's not everybody sharing that. But it may name a few others. I find a name and I locate that person. They may not even know they're an heir. They may not have a connection to South Carolina. They might be up in Detroit or New Jersey and not have that connection to the land here. And I find them. And I offer to buy their percentage of ownership, no matter how small. And they found money, great, you know. They don't know what they're about to do. And they sell their percentage to me. And I offered $1,000 for something. And what they have done at that moment is they've made me the newest member of the family. No blood, no family connection. And I am now an heir, like the other heirs. And any heir has the right to bring a forced sale of that property into the courts. And it doesn't matter what the rest of the heirs want. And, you know, imagine a moment like that, and family members getting letters that there is a procedure in the court over this land. It's already too late. If it comes into the, you know, is that family going to be able to get together? Is that family going to be able to make that family tree fast enough and find out all the heirs who'd be involved and get permit? So more likely than not, that land is sold in the court, and of course, it's sold for far less than it would be market value. And the thing is, if an heir does that, not just me, you know, who had an agenda to buy that land, but if a family member just decides, oh, I need some money, I'll do this, you know, they don't realize that it won't be sold at market value. The court will assess the value. It's never going to be what it was worth, truly. There's a ton of hurt and pain that happens when this happens in a family. We say to families, do not wait. We can help you. And it can be very daunting to talk about heirs property in a family. Families don't want to talk about it because so much is been lost over the years. If you came forward and went to an attorney or, you know, and we call it legalized theft. Historically, there's been a lot of land lost because of that. Coming forward, signing, you know, the property as a kind of, as collateral for what the attorney might do for you, and you end up losing it. So we're the organization that can help families resolve their title issues, and then you might be able to do something with your land. And that was the next question. You know, we found ourselves, you know, landowners, you know, we resolved title, and the title was clear, and we wanted to be able to help families have their land work for them. And a lot of the land was rural, and it continues to be, especially as we moved into Orangeburg and so forth. Berkeley County has a lot of heirs property. In the Tri-County, Berkeley County has by far the largest amount left to protect, but it's being eaten up with industry development and so forth. You know, Volvo is surrounded by Pringletown and communities that are, a lot of it's heirs property, and we're trying to work with them. And taxes go up and everything else. The message is, do not wait. The longer you wait, the more heirs to deal with, and the greater the chance you're going to lose it. Taxes are going up at the same time. I know it can be a frightening idea to sort of deal with all the family members. We always have family members who come in and say, well, we don't want to deal with them. We don't know them, but they're still heirs. And we are the mediator, you know. We're the objective person in the room who can bring the family members together and talk it through. And believe me, there's a lot of talk that has to happen in a meeting of family members that doesn't have anything to do with the land first. It has to do with grudges and hurts and things unresolved. And it's a real healing process, truly, that has to happen sometimes, as with any family, before you can make a decision, come to talking about the land. And we can help, because we're that objective person in the room. The other threat to heirs property from, you know, I've been director of communications for almost 10 years at the center, is we're losing the older generation. That older generation is a generation that knows the story of the land, how it came to be, the sacrifice involved, what it means, and why it should be kept. And that's terribly important. And we know that those stories, when we work with a family, those stories, and families get together talking, the younger generation then hears those stories and understands for themselves how important it is to keep that land and try to make it into an asset for the families. So the direct legal services are what we call the resolution part of our work. And then there was the question, what can families do with their land? And in 2013, we received funding to start a sustainable forestry program. And because an awful lot of our families had rural land and already had trees or had trees cut, but didn't get what the value really was. And so we started this forestry program with funding, and we do forestry education, and when we do an educational seminar, you're going to hear about the forestry side of the program. And we connect the landowners, and Ms. Yvonne, I'd love you to say a word, with the professionals in the industry, so you can trust. We get to know them, we can say, these are the people you can work with, and because there's distrust there. Because heirs property was taken advantage of, and cutting timber has been something that has been taken advantage of with families. A fly-by-night logger is cruising, he's looking, he sees you've got trees, he knocks on your door. It's unbelievable how predatory it is, you know, and says, I'll cut your trees. I'll give you $5,000. And it's worth $50,000 or more. And it's just the difference in knowing. I certainly wouldn't know, you know, I'm not a forester. Boy, have I learned. I want to have land and grow trees. It's a $21 billion industry in South Carolina. The second biggest industry. the growing is so fast, it's such a long growing season. We export timber to Europe. So, and there are tons of byproducts in forestry. I won't go into it, but you might want to have an educational seminar and really get this information. Ms. Yvonne, would you like to just, from where you are, just sort of talk for a minute what it's meant to you?
Good morning. Most of you know me. But not only can I talk about it, but you have someone in your midst who's done exactly what we've done, the Mangrove family. So it's really looking at your land and getting the value out of it that's there. And one of the ways is growing trees. There are probably a lot of other ways as well, but mostly we focus on the sustainable forestry piece at the center. Going back to what Ms. Lynn said about the wills, I always say if you don't have a will, you can leave a mess. It's as simple as that. If you don't have a will, you're going to leave a mess. And then that's when the heir's property comes in and it just grows and grows and grows, and it gets to the point where it's so difficult to now straighten out. And just as an example, there's a family or a lady that I know, they've been paying the taxes on the land, you know, they've just been going along, paying the taxes. So now that they've heard about heirs property and how to clear the title, they're interested in doing that. But as they go back and search, it's so far back that they don't know who the person is that was on the deed in the first place. So now, how do you clear that? How do you clear it? So they're just in that limbo. So the longer you wait, the longer you go without a will. And yes, we know our people like to say, well, you know, they don't need to know that yet, you know. But if they don't need to know it, put the will somewhere. Give it to your attorney. Give it to a trusted family member to hold on to until, you know, it has to come to light. But don't just leave it undone, saying, I'm going to do it tomorrow, or I'm going to write something out and I'm going to put it somewhere, and they find it 10 years later, or not know what it is that you've done. So that's just going back a little bit, because it is important. The forestry piece for us was trying to protect the land for the future. We did not have heirs property. Oh, we do not have heirs property, because it's just my sister and me. So we didn't have to go through, and there were wills coming down through the years. So we look at the planting of trees as a way for the next generation to be able to hold on to the land, because they can use the money from the trees to keep the taxes going and to build other businesses around the farm or the land to keep it going if they're really smart. And I guess my nieces and nephews, my children say, why should say if we're really smart? Well, yes, if you're really smart and you look at what we've done or are doing, just take it to the next level. You guys have more going with media and technology and all that stuff. You can take it to the next level and really make the land work for you. And you can do it while you do other things. You know, you don't have to give up your other life and come and just do that. So I'm an advocate for sustainable forestry, because there is so much that can be done with it. And I can see your light bulbs are going on there. So, yeah, take advantage. Come and hear. It took us, we were in that education piece for 3 years, I believe, because we planned it around the same time. And it was a 3-year process. No, we didn't just take anybody at their word the first time around. We went, we learned, we listened, and we figured out what needed to be done next. some may say, well, we only have a small piece of property. We're in the process now, because it's hard to get a logger to come and cut a small piece of property. Especially when there's a lot of log out there to be gotten. They're gonna go to the large logger, pieces first. So we're looking at how we can form what we call a cooperation or co-op, where the group in a particular area, if you have enough to put together, then the logger will come and go from piece to piece to piece to piece, even though it's different families. They will do that because they're in the area. The equipment is so expensive to move and use. That's one of the reasons they don't do small pieces. So in this way, you also have to talk to your neighbor. Because we also like to say, well, we ain't telling them what we're doing, But if you're going to get it done, sometimes you have to open up and talk to each other to make things happen. So that's my piece, and I'm done.
What is the acreage that one needs in order to get involved in?
I'm not gonna put an acreage on it. We talk about 10 acres, but as I just said, with the logging piece, if there are several families or pieces of property in an area, to get it cut, you can get it cut. USDA, I don't know that they have a limit on
The timber industry
the
itself
number of acres
says 10
planted.
acres, yeah. But we are working with families, working together.
The reason I'm asking that question is because I've attended several of Heir's property meetings, and I know, and you just stated a few minutes ago, we love to keep things under the umbrella. Hearsay is one thing.
Mhm.
Now, I know that you, and I'm not pointing out because I know the Manigos have sold property, and they got hundreds of thousands of dollars, and I know that you have.
Not property.
No, a timber.
Timber.
Okay, and you have.
We don't sell property if we can help it.
That's your line.
We're all about keeping it.
Timber. But that was your first project. Now, your second project is that you're doing animals.
Things get around, doesn't it? No, okay. Just let me explain.
Lawson's indeed, yes.
Yeah.
Girl.
Timber is number one right now. We've set up several stands, because you plant stands
Stands of trees.
of trees. So we planted one stand. My realization was, if you're going to make money off of the trees, and that's what we do, or why you want to do it anyway, you have to stagger that planting. You can't go in and just clear cut everything you have and plant the trees. Now you're without the use of that land for about 25 years, waiting for the trees to grow. So staggering the planting, therefore you can stagger the harvest. And I'll share again, one of the things that I learned. In one stand, you can get 4 different cuts out of that stand before you have to clear cut it and start over. So you can see over the years how you can use the land to get income. You're talking about raising animals. That was an attempt. That's an attempt. That's something that my son wants to do. But
She's always chasing his cows. Bring them home.
Hearsay is one thing, and since we're getting it from the horse's mouth,
There we go.
then the thing about it, let's all be real, because seedlings is another thing, but I'm not gonna hold you up. Let's talk about what your son is doing with his stand.
he doesn't have a stand.
Okay.
He has a pasture, but that's
Just
something
because
else.
I don't have a
Yeah.
lot, I just want to finish a
And I
few
have-
things, and I don't want to.
Well, you have my phone number, call me.
Yeah.
Madam President, we're going to have 30 minutes to have question and answer. So
Yeah, and then I-
Yeah.
please, we will have that chance for you to ask all the questions that you want.
And Miss Yvonne has, as she would quickly say, learned so much about her own situation. But honestly, I hope that one of our foresters can come sometime and do an educational seminar to give you other answers. We do, by the way, we do not tell a family what to do with their land. We ask, what would you like to do with your land? What are your thoughts about it? And it's a conversation, and then we try to help you do whatever it is you want. It may be a combination of agriculture, livestock, or timber, because our greatest partner is the USDA, the United States Department of Agriculture, who had a pretty crummy reputation before, you know, the Farm Service and things, and how people were treated and not helped and everything else. It's their business now to do better, and we're their partner in doing that, in connecting them with people like Ms. Yvonne
And a testimony, in Berkeley County, we do have a really good USDA conservation person. So I didn't get to that piece of how our partners, the Forestry Department, the Forestry Commission, the USDA, Farm Services, all of those people are there for you. And they've partnered with the Center for Heirs Property, and that's one of the things that they do, is connect you to the partners who can best help you to do what you want to do.
And the first step is, and I'll end here, because there's so much I can say, and I would love to just say, you have a newsletter. We do it twice a year. This is our rack card. I've got lots of them for you to take into your church or into your communities if you'd like to share. And it has the heirs property piece and the forestry. If in forestry you may have heirs property, you may not. Either way, we will work with you. So there's that. But I'll tell one story about a newsletter that I created a while back when the Manigault family was first learning about the center, and the first director of forestry, Sam Cook, he couldn't sing a note, came to the Manigault family, and I went with him to go into their home and sit and meet with the family members, and you were 8 children?
It's 9 of us.
9 of us, yeah. And everybody's in the front room with Mrs. Manigault, but senior Mr. Manigault is not there. And Sam comes in, he's talking about the forestry program, and I'm talking about they didn't have an heirs property situation, and then from the back of the house came, "Don't sign anything." Mr. Manigault. He never came into the front of the house, but periodically he would call it out, which was perfect. The Manigault family has the land they have, and they bought land from within family, bought from family members to grow their acreage. But that's why they still have it all. And it's all about just knowing. You got always ask, as I put it in here, it's okay to ask, what does that mean? Don't sign anything, don't do anything. If a logger's knocking on your door, he'll come back. Don't do anything. Then call us, and we can come on your land. The foresters will come to your land if you would like them to do that. Walk your land, see what is on the land, give you an assessment of the standing value of your property right then and there, if you have trees and so forth, soil qualities and things, so you can know. You don't have to do anything more, but you'll know better what you actually have and what the potential could be. So all I want to leave you with is this. You will have lots of questions, heirs property or not, about heirs property, the help we give, and about the forestry piece. Just call us. For the heirs property side, call us, make an appointment with one of our attorneys for a free hour of consultation. Bringing documents will help you, we'll tell you what will help to bring. You can come all by yourself or with other family members, and you will receive 1 hour of free legal advice about your particular heirs property situation. Again, you may not do anything for a while, but at least you'll know what is the situation with your land and how we can help you to resolve it if we can. And if you want to do the forestry, you call up, you make an appointment with a forester at no cost to you, and they'll come and walk your land and at least do that much so you'll know more about what the value may be that you have. As Miss Yvonne said recently at an event, when she planted her trees, she thought, is my father, is my grandfather seeing this? And that's what it's about too. Honoring the legacy and doing what you can to pass it on as a real economic asset to your next generation. So thank you. I took way too much time. Thank you, Ms.
Thank you, Ms. Glenn. And I can speak about our experience. I don't know where the $100,000 came from. I have no idea. I mean, that is not correct. But for me, the most important aspect of the journey was the education. Knowing not only, and Ms. Tish, I think you can talk about this as well. Pre-Civil War, and I guess during the Civil War, the majority of the United States was owned by black people. Now we own less than 20%. And I remember hearing my father say that Main Street in Moncks Corner was owned by a black woman. A large piece of that was owned by a black woman. She died and left it to her son. And her son sold it for a bus trip back to New York, or back up north. We all know what the value of that is today, okay? And if he had just kept it, known what the value was, he would have been a rich man. So I'm saying to you that this is vital, this is important. When I'm from Moncks Corner, back home, I see for sale signs in this community going up left and right, and we need to be careful. So thank you, ma'am, very much. I would implore you to please use their services because they were a godsend for us. And Ms. Yvonne can speak on that as well, but definitely it is something that is a tool that we all can use. Next, we're going to have, oh, I'm sorry, we're going to do a drawing. I forgot about that. Did everybody get a ticket?
Everybody get a raffle ticket?
All right. We're going to wrap off first this wonderful Toastmaster election skill. All right? Ms. Noel? All on you.
Oh, pressure. I'm telling you.
Last three.
All right, the last three numbers is 540.
540?
The last.
Oh, it was. The last three digits is 540. Yay!
Don't look at the comments still, make sure you get it. Alrighty, congratulations.
Thank you.
Next, we're going to talk about real estate and how you can get it, the process. And we're going to have Ms. Catherine Drayton from Century 21, who's been wonderful for me to come and speak about that part of it. This is like a stool, a three-legged stool. This is the second leg. So, Ms. Catherine Drayton.
I'm so grateful for the relationship that we have. We met at the Moncks Corner Turkey Giveaway.
Yes.
And that was about 2 years ago. So I'm so grateful. You never know, you know, who you're gonna meet, who you're gonna touch, and how that person will influence your life, or, you know, just be a part of it. So I'm grateful that our relationship has grown, and I'm actually grateful for the opportunity. So yes, we are Drayton and Associates. This is my right-hand woman, Miss Noel, and we are both full-time realtors. So this is what we do for a living. So just to piggyback off of what Ms. Tish said, we can help you buy land, buy investment property, which is what me and Ms. Renita actually look for. That's what we do for the most part. We are full service agents though, so that means that we can help you sell your property. We can give you the market value of your property if you would like it, to know how much your land is worth. That's important too. But we can also help you invest, and that is what we want to focus on here. Whether you want to purchase more land, whether you want to do some rental investments, whether you want to flip houses, which means that, you know, I know a lot of people I'm learning, they know a contractor or someone in their family that actually does do that, where they purchase a home that's not fully habitable, and they hire a contractor or whoever, someone that's licensed. Basically, they fix the home back up, and then you put it back on the market, and you sell, and you make a nice profit off of that. So a lot of our clients are doing that now. That is rehabbing a home, basically, renovations and all those good things. We actually have sold homes where our clients have made us, you know, as much as $75,000 off of doing that. So, you know, there's plenty of money to be made, plenty of opportunities out there, whether you want to expand your rental portfolio, if you wanted to do that. We call it buying and holding. So we can find you a condo, a townhouse, a home itself, and if you want to go ahead and rent that out, we have the means to be able to do that for you as well. We can also help you find and purchase commercial property, and you can buy and hold that as well. We came across a property, we're trying to put a tenant in it now, but they basically purchased the entire unit, and they're splitting that up, into spaces and renting out each space. You know what I'm saying? So I want to encourage you to think outside of the box. You know, don't think in your norm. Expand, look to grow, because everyone else is growing. Whether you see it or not, you see all the communities popping up everywhere. It's going to come regardless of whether you want it to or not. And the joke now is people from Ohio are moving here. You see it happening all the time. You cannot prevent it. Bovo is here, Boeing is here, and more industries are coming here. So I encourage you to capitalize on it. Why not go ahead and purchase, and then you can rent out to these individuals, these doctors, these nurses, teachers that are coming here. They can actually rent your property. And if you're one of those that don't want to, you know, you don't want to interact or deal with that person individually, we have property management companies that basically take a small percentage, and you do not have to be involved. They don't even have to know that you are the owner, but you are the owner. You know, a lot of people think that. My dad taught me that. My dad said, don't let them know that you own it, but go ahead and own it. That's one thing. That's one thing. I don't know what it is, but you know, sometimes when people know that you own it, they treat you differently. You know what I'm saying? So that's something that I learned young. And he owns a laundromat right now, and looking to expand, but they do not know that he owns it. He looks like a little worker on the side, and you know, fixing the little things. But that's just, you know, just a takeaway. So, you know, we're very passionate. Like I said, this is what we do full time, and we're looking to help. We're looking to give back. We're looking to help you grow, and at the same time help us grow. You do need a realtor when it comes to negotiating. We always try to encourage you, you know, to ask for a second opinion, ask around. Like I said, if you want market value on your home, on your property, and stuff like that, don't just take the first offer that comes. I heard Ms. Tish say, they could offer $5,000 and your land is worth $50,000. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to take the first offer. So we're always here and available. We do help, of course, with negotiating, we help with pricing, all those good things that you can think of. Yes.
Would you talk about, since we're talking about heirs property, about family property, a good way of getting that property, if you think that there's someone who is trying to sell their property in the family, and you don't hear anything about it.
So I actually have been working with a young lady for a while. She lives in New York. It's been a task, and I want to honestly say communication. Communication is really an issue within the family. One member wants to sell it, the other members do not, et cetera, et cetera. So it's difficult for us to want to put that property, or even be able to put that property on the market, because with the title, all heirs actually have to sign away that property. So you do have to have a meeting of the minds in order for us to sell it. Now, what we're doing is foresting the property, but it's in a difficult location now to where it's actually in the middle of other people's property, other owners' property. So we're having to negotiate with them as well. I've been working on that for years now, so I do not know. But I would say communicate. If there's an issue, we do have like mediators. We actually have foresters as well. I didn't want to interrupt Ms. Tish, but I have two gentlemen that will actually go ahead and they'll buy the timber from you. Thank you. Yeah, they'll buy the timber from you if it's a certain amount. If that's something that you want to do, they just have to be able to access the property. And in this case, we have to negotiate with the other owners. Does that answer your question? Okay, great. Are there any more questions? Like I said, we're always here to help. This is what we do for a living. Any questions? No? Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Drayton. Like she said, we've known each other for 2 years. I met her at the Berkeley High School, and I've been trying to do a little bit. I haven't found anything yet, but we're
close. We're close.
Every time they close, it's like, oh no. But in that she's really good because she's held my hand every step of the way, and I want you all to know that she is someone that you can call. And I've called her 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock at night and say, can you tell me such and such? And she's been available, and she has a family, and I'm like, I don't know how you do it. With me calling you and you having a family, so. But she is a really resourceful person, and she will find what you're looking for. One of the things that I can truly say is that when it comes to your family land, go through a real estate agent. Because like she said, they can negotiate, they can help you communicate with the person. And if you, one thing I do want you to talk about, when it comes to taxes, please, can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes.
I haven't seen it in a couple of years since I've looked, but I have gone down the list, and how in Berkeley County, they will have a list of people who are up, their land is up for sale because of taxes. And I've seen a lot of people I know on that. In that time, I know that people are still, getting their money together and paying it. But the money that is being lost because of taxes is ridiculous. It is sinful.
And you do not have to wait. I don't know if any of you do that, but you do not have to wait till the property is up for auction to purchase it, if that's something that you want to do. Because whenever the taxes go into default, they can go ahead and auction off the property and such. You do not have to do that. You can actually go to the county and ask for a list of properties that are in default. Go ahead and pay their taxes, and And you will actually earn interest on that while you're waiting to see if so-and-so will go ahead and pay those taxes. If they do not pay those taxes within a year, that is your property. If they do pay those taxes, you will get that money back with interest. So it is a win-win. I have had individuals who have purchased land for maybe $1,000, $5,000 and such. The taxes were not paid. That is their property. That's how easy it is. And it's really unfortunate because, like Mr. Renita said, it's people that we know. You can own Sally's property right next door, and there's nothing she can do about it. You will be the rightful heir of it. It's that simple. And I'll tell you, that is what some builders do. They go ahead and they pay the taxes on the property. Developers do it. We're working with a builder now. He'll be building in Ridgeville, great guy. That's what he does. He goes, pays the taxes, and he now becomes the rightful owner of the property. Yes.
So you can ask any county office, you can go and ask for.
Delinquent tax records, yes. And you can look it up online. You sure can. Yeah, it's easily accessible. Mr. Renita said, my people perish for the lack of knowledge. You just don't know. You know, but it is as easy as that. You do not have to wait till the property is auctioned off to pay for it. Any more questions?
Anybody else?
Yeah, and I mean, we do have business cards up here. If it's any question, it doesn't matter. If it's your first time purchase, first sale, anything like that, we're always available, ready, willing, and able. I'm extremely passionate about what I do. Like I said, this is what I do full time. So for me, I want to be as involved, and it means as much as it does to you to me. You know, because it's a win for me. You know, when we actually get the deal done. I don't know, I'm one of those people. So,
So that's how you put your food on the table.
correct. I have 2 little ones that I feed. So, but if you have any questions, feel free after the break or whatnot. Just pull me aside and ask. I'm always here, and I do hope that you pick up my business cards. Because if you know someone that has questions also that needs a realtor, Noel and I are available, always available.
Thank you. Thank you again. And once again, I can't reiterate, all these ladies, they're really great tools, and if you don't use them and you proceed onward, then it's at your own peril. I don't know what else I can say about it, but she is very resourceful. I mean, the people that she's got me in contact with and the places that we've gone, I've never known who was there. But she really has been an asset for me. So we're gonna have another drawing. Yeah, you can't do it. All right. Next, we're gonna have let's see what it is.
Last 3 digits is 529.
Yay!
Thank you.
You're welcome. Good morning. Good morning. All right. The next we're going to have Ms. Deborah Stewart. She's from First Citizen, and she's worked with Ms. Drayton and Ms. Nelson, and she is going to talk about the third leg of this this stool about loans and how you can obtain a loan and what you need to do in order to prepare yourself, because it's not as easy as just going there, sign the paperwork, and you got money. There's some things that you're going to have to do in order to prepare yourself for it, and she's going to talk to us about that today. Ms. Deborah?
Thank you, Anderson Baptist, for allowing me to come and visit with you. I'm so happy to be here, especially with my friends Kat and Noel. Tish, and I say that honestly because she has information that I need. And the information that she has, if I incorporate it, I can be helpful to my clients. Again, I'm Deborah Stewart. I work for First Citizens Bank, and I am the Regional Community Development Officer. And many of you are familiar with the term CRA. And CRA is a regulation, it's a government regulation that requires banks to meet the needs of the community in which we do business. So it requires banks to get out into the community and be sure that we're meeting the needs of low to moderate income individuals as well as affluent individuals. So I work for Reeves Skeen, and the area that we cover is Mounts Corner, Somerville, Charleston, Beaufort, Hilton Head, and Savannah. So even though Nana doesn't like to drive too much, but I do have to leave Charleston in order to cover the territory that we serve. Because if First Citizens has a branch, that means that we have a responsibility to reach out into the community and be sure that your financial needs are being met. And I like so much of what I've heard earlier. I like when Tish says, what does that mean? When I bought my home in my 20s, I did not have a realtor. And because I didn't have that expert partner, there were things I simply did not know. But I was blessed that we were able to purchase our home, but not without issue. Because when we bought our home and we had gotten a closing attorney, I want to go back a little bit. When we got our closing attorney, we found that the house did not have a clear title. So here I am looking to purchase this house in downtown Charleston, and we learned that the person died without a will, and because he died without a will, we thought that it was just going to be his children, until we learned that he had another family in North Carolina. And we were fortunate enough that it didn't happen over generations. So we were able to get 13 quitclaim deeds signed in order for us to have clear title to the property. Because for sure, the bank was not going to lend me money to buy a house and I not have a clear title, because that was not in the bank's best interest. Okay? So I have a personal experience with that, but someone said earlier that a lot of the older people are dying off, and so you don't know how far back it goes. Well, fortunately, I didn't have to go beyond the gentleman that owned the house when he died. It was just a matter of getting the quitclaim deed signed for his children.
It was still 13 though. So
13 people!
if it's a grandparent, you know, and it's gone on and on.
13 people. So here I am, ready to purchase my house in June of '95, and I was living in a house that belonged to my father-in-law. I was, his house, we had a fire, and he did not have enough homeowner's insurance. So what he was able to get was insufficient to renovate the house properly. So I'm going back talking about partners that we should have in our lives. We should have a realtor for sure. I mean, not only is she a good partner to a buyer, but she's a good partner to me, a banker. Okay? Because when you come to talk to me about purchasing a house, I'd like to know that you've got a realtor, an insurance agent, maybe a closing attorney that you know, because we're going to give you preference of counsel. And if it's somebody you know and trust, that makes it easier. And if somebody you know and trust, you're willing to ask the right questions. Because when I was trying to buy a house and people were throwing these words out, I didn't know what escrow meant. I was in my early 20s, and fortunately, I had a little help from my parents, and we didn't have 100% financing back in the day. But guess what? We've got that program now. So yes. And not only do we have 100% financing, but we have partners who we work with, nonprofit organizations that help with down payment assistance. So that means, yes, that means we can help you to get this deal closed. Now, I like to tell people, CRA does not happen until we close something. Now, I can come out and speak to people in groups and make calls on people and talk all day long, but if I don't help you to become a homeowner, I'm not doing my job. Now, yes, being a homeowner helps you because that's one of the best investments that you can make. So yes, it helps you, but it also helps me because I'm a CRA officer, and the First Citizens does not make mortgage loans in the minority community, in the Hispanic community, in the low to moderate income community. The next time we want to merge with another bank, you might say, I don't think so. You have not demonstrated your commitment to Berkeley County. You have not demonstrated your commitment to Charleston County. Why should we let you merge with another bank? Or the FDIC might come and visit us and say, well, the last audit we did on your bank revealed that you are this percentage short of meeting, all the requirements. So that's a problem for us. So guess what? As we teach you to be online, and we teach you to go to the ATM, and we teach you to be on social media, you don't come into the bank. So you don't know that your child can get a loan, 100% finance, and get some down payment assistance money. You say to yourself, my child cannot buy a house in downtown Charleston. Because you look and you see a 2-bedroom, 1-bath on Grove Street selling for $400,000. You're like, are you insane? But guess what? Because I bought my house in my 20s, here we are, much older. Guess what? My house is worth 10 times what I paid for it. Now, what investment are you gonna have where you can have the confidence in knowing that you got a legacy, isn't that our program, that we're leaving for our children, where that property is going to continue to increase in value? Who in the world knew that Volvo and Boeing and Daimler Chrysler and all these companies would come to Charleston. Who knew? And now all of a sudden, your property is worth a whole lot more than what you thought. So it's my responsibility to get out in the community, partner with nonprofit organizations, and look for ways to do first-time homebuyer education. And when we're doing the first-time homebuyer education, we are reminding young people that they need to have a realtor. Miss Noel, Miss Kat. And that realtor is going to help you through the process. Okay? So, you come in, you have an idea that you want to purchase your home. So you bring in 2 years tax returns, you bring in a pay stub. Oh, don't worry, we got a checklist there. I think I passed that out. Everybody see the checklist? Now you don't need all of this the first day that you come and talk to us. But if you bring income verification, your tax returns, your pay stub, your W-2. And if you bring in income verification and asset verification, you bring in the, anybody else need the checklist? Okay. If you bring in your tax returns, your pay stub, your W-2s, then we can tell you how much of a house you can afford. That way, let me tell you, Kat's not gonna let you get in trouble like that anyway.
No,
Because you said, I saw a house on such and such street, and it's got 4 bedrooms, 3.5 baths, and it's a $400,000 house, and it's all this is the house I want to live in. And Kat will say, well, that's fine, but you're going to go talk to Deborah so that she can get you pre-approved. That way you know how much of a house you can afford. Okay? And then we do the pre-approval based on what you brought into us, your pay stubs and all that. And then we learned that you only qualify for a $250,000 house. Kat's not going to take you to look at that $400,000 house. That is not going to benefit you. That's not going to benefit her. Now let's talk about this. There's a nonprofit downtown Charleston, and we partner with them. They partner with the city of Charleston. The city gave them a piece of property, gave the nonprofit a piece of property, valued at about $50,000. That nonprofit builds a home on this $50,000 land, and they put about $200,000 into the cost, to build. So now we've got a house that's worth $250,000. The nonprofit is not necessarily going to put that house up for sale for $250,000 because the city is willing to take a second mortgage. So they might put it for sale for $200,000, and if you purchase it, you've got the first mortgage for $200,000, you got the second mortgage for $50,000, which may be forgivable if you live in that house for as long as 10 years. That $50,000 might be, so that's equity to you. That's free money to you. But let's go further. What if that nonprofit, instead of selling that house to you for $200,000, worth $250,000, what if they got some down payment assistance money from some of our partner organizations? What if they get $25,000 from this place? What if they get down payment assistance money from First Citizens? Maybe they've gotten some money from us as well. And maybe we brought this down to 170, not 10,000 for First Citizens, maybe about 5,000. All right, But there are other organizations out there that will help with the down payment. Like if you're a teacher, a firefighter, a police officer, there are all kinds of programs that are already out there. The Palmetto.
Hometown Heroes.
Thank you. Say it loud, Miss Cat.
Hometown Heroes.
See, that's why I work with her.
Yes.
Beauty and brain.
Thank you.
So we get these down payment assistance money, and then you find yourself paying $175,000 for a house that's valued at $250,000. Say again? That's what I like to hear. Okay?
Right, equity, yes.
Equity.
Thank God.
All right. Now, there was a house, such a house, and I'm trying to find someone to buy it. Oh, Deborah, I don't want to live downtown. I want to live West Ashley. And I'm like, you're going to turn down $75,000 worth of equity? I don't want to live downtown. Now, where's the house again? I don't want to live. I don't want to live on that side of Charleston. Okay? Fine. So I go around, I'm looking, I'm trying to find somebody who's interested in buying a home. We got trouble. Because people have in their minds what they want. Instead of what's good business. But that's why you gotta surround yourself with the right people. You gotta have a good realtor who could talk to you about making a good deal. So you got a checklist there. Most of you have my card. If you don't have my card, I want to make sure that you have that before I leave. I want to talk to you one last thing. Not only having the right partners, but people who you're comfortable talking to. So if you've got any questions, you can just call me at any time. Anytime. My cell phone number is on my business card because it's part of my job to help you or your children, your grandchildren, to become homeowners or entrepreneurs. That's the next seminar. We're talking about small business. All right? But use the checklist, because if you bring a complete package to your banker, that makes the deal move faster. Because you don't become discouraged, because it's a process. I mean, you have to, first of all, after you identify a property, it's going to take you 30 to 45 days to close. So you cannot grow weary in well-doing. It's not easy, but if you follow what the realtor says to you, or if you follow that checklist, you follow what the banker says to you, then before you know it, you're going to be in your own home. Or we're talking, maybe you can help your children to become homeowners. You know, so I'm pushing real estate, owning real estate to my children. So both of my sons own their homes. Then I'm, pushing entrepreneurship. My baby son, he's not a baby. My youngest son is a firefighter for the city of Charleston, but my older son, he is in the heating and air conditioning business, and he owns his building in Columbia, and he's ready to expand. Now that he's been in this building for a while, now he's ready to expand. Okay, so he owns his, Kat was talking about commercial buildings earlier, he owns his building. So guess what? This is what we want for our children. We want our children to take what we can give to them and build on that.
Right.
What questions do you have?
Can you talk a little bit about credit scores?
I'm so glad you mentioned that. Y'all, credit is one of the biggest hindrances to people becoming homeowners. But here's the good thing. all right? You know, generally we like people to have a 620 score or higher. But guess what? You sit down, you talk to your banker, or if we connect you with a nonprofit organization like Increasing Hope.
Yes.
All right, you all know that?
What's it called again? I'm sorry.
Increasing Hope.
Yes.
One of our partners,
Yes.
Dorothy and Bertie.
Dorothy and Bernie.
Fantastic.
Fantastic.
Fantastic people, fantastic program.
See, y'all,
Hands down.
listen, this is what I love about Charleston and our community. We all know each other. And we're all connected, because if we don't connect, we can't do what we need to do for you. All right? So, as soon as I said Increasing Hope, she says, Dorothy and Bernie. And she said, she's wonderful. Okay, guess what? We put you in the hands of Dorothy and Bernie. And yes, your credit is jacked up. But guess what? It's a process. She's going to go over that credit bureau report with you. She's going to say, part of your problem is you've got this credit card up to the limit. Yes, you're paying every month on time, but you've got that credit card up to the limit. Guess what? If you reduce that credit balance by about a half, immediately your score is going to take up a little. Okay? So then she's going to look at that credit bureau report, and she's going to see that there's something that you did not know was on there, and if you paid that thing off, maybe it doesn't happen immediately, but maybe in 3 months, maybe 6 months. So yes, you might not be ready today, but if you follow her instructions, maybe you'll be ready in 3 months or 6 months, okay? That's no time. I mean, it's June. I'm about to panic, y'all. How did we go from January 2019 to June so fast? I mean, that's the fastest 6 months I've ever seen. So guess what? Before you know it, you're going to be a homeowner if you follow what Dorothea asked you to do. Now, she's a really good partner. Now, you see how many people it takes for us to get you to the closing table, and you sign on the dotted line, and that's your house. It takes a few of us working together.
A lot of calls.
Communication.
Communicate.
Yes.
Please.
What other questions do you have? I have lots of stuff I want to talk to you about. I think we've talked about, now you talked about credit, and you know, credit's important, okay? And don't get me wrong, I talk to you about 100% financing programs, but you know, we want you to have some money in the bank too. Because we're not gonna put you in a house, and then as soon as the hot water tank blows up, you're in trouble. No, you've gotta have some money in the bank. You've gotta have some money of your own.
Yes.
All right? I'm out of time.
Thank you, Mayhel.
All right.
Okay, we're going to do a wrap up real quick. Thank you so much. That was wonderful. And I'm telling you, it takes everything.
Yes.
It takes everything. If you miss one aspect, I can guarantee you, it'll make it, your foundation just go down. So we're going to do one more, another raffle.
Last three digits is 542. 542.
Everybody who cares. Oh, that's all right.
I just say one story.
What am I doing? All right, we've heard from all the presentations, and I want a little time for you all to be able to ask all the questions from these ladies. And I'm gonna start. You have a story you want to tell?
I just, in sitting here realizing where I am and telling you a story that was in one of our newsletters. A gentleman in Berkeley County who owned 42 acres of land that he had inherited from his father, but he had some debt, and he wanted to retire the debt. And he thought he would have to sell half of his father's land to pay off his debts. So he put a for sale sign out on his property. And his neighbors saw it, and one of them was working with us in forestry. And she knew he had trees, she could see them, and she went up and knocked on his door and just said, call the center. At least know what you have now on that land, and maybe they can help you. And he called the center because he trusted the neighbor, knew his neighbor, trusted the neighbor, called us, came in, our foresters walked the land with him. He had timber cut by somebody, who was fly-by-night logger and didn't do it very well and left trees fallen, and it can hurt the land for a long time when that happens if it's not done right. But he had enough standing timber on that land to have it harvested, to have a forest management plan for replanting, and to pay off all his debts, put some money in the bank, and not lose one inch of his father's
Good
land.
stuff.
That is good. So I mean, it's out there. You don't have to give up all that you have in order to live.
Right.
So I'm gonna use this time to, if you have any questions for the presenters, and I'm gonna start off, if that's okay, with all three of you, giving us some idea of what can be some hindrances when it comes to your aspect or your part of your profession.
I think the biggest hindrance I spoke of, which is that the very people we want to help may not know about us, don't trust us right off the bat. That's why we go into communities and work with partners who are known to the community. Again, partnering, communication, and therefore we work through with churches, pastors, local leaders in the communities we serve to introduce us to the community. And so trust begets trust, because there is so much reason for the distrust, and we know it. So I would say that's the biggest hurdle, is people trusting. We've had people who went to a seminar 5 years ago that we had, walks in with an old brochure 5 years later, and it just took time. It took time and for them to truly believe we were not out there trying to get their land, because there's so much of that. So I would say that's the biggest thing. And once that trust is there, we know we can help you.
My biggest thing is communication and just being transparent. We are not those realtors that will put you in something that is beyond your means. That is not how we operate. We want to put you into something that you can afford, that you're going to be able to grow into with your family regardless. We always say we don't want you eating ramen after you move into your house. We don't want you doing that.
Unless you want to.
Unless you want to. But, I want you to at least be able to put a steak on the table every once in a while if you want to. So we do not, we're not in the business of maxing you out. We're in the business of getting more referrals. So Noel and I, our customer service, we want you to say, oh my gosh, I had such a great experience with these two ladies that you have to use them again. And there are so many realtors out there, unfortunately, that are just looking for that bottom line. They're going to put you in anything, first thing that you look at. Noelle is absolutely not like that. She will literally find you your house and then say, okay, this is your house. Why don't you see what I see? So like I said, for us, it's communication. If you're having credit issues or anything like that, we have the means, we have the resources to be able to help you get back on track. So many people have things on your credit that you just need to dispute. It's been on there for so long, you might not even remember or know it's there. You might just need to dispute it, and it will increase your credit. It's all because you just don't know, and it's also because you don't say anything. If you say something, we can help you. You know what I'm saying? So for me, for us, I would say it's communication. If Noel, you want to piggyback on that?
Yeah, I would say, you said the biggest hindrance, mine would be the lack of knowledge. That these, as we learned today, I'm absolutely mind blown by what Ms. Tish presented. You know, like this is brand new information for me. I also too sit on Heir's property in Jedburgh and had no idea about forestry and any of that. So it's just, for me, it's the lack of knowledge within our community. We are all brown faces and we don't know what to do. And even if it's as small as a credit issue and resolving something that's on your credit report, the knowledge is out there, and knowledge is power. We've always known that. For decades, we've screamed knowledge is power. We just have to use the education and the resources that are out here to help one another. And we have to get over what Ms. Tish said as well, which is the distrust. We see it all day, every day. Quick story, yesterday we did an open house in Monk's Corner for a brand new property. The next door neighbors, a brown lady just purchased a home next door. She's downsizing. She comes in and she's like, oh my God, all of this? How did I get all of this in my house next door? Well, who's your realtor? And she goes, oh, we don't even want to talk about that lady. I just found her at my granddaughter's ballet class. And I said, oh, okay. She said, but I can't believe you two beautiful brown ladies are in this home and y'all are educating me that I could have had all of this if I brought representation to when I went to Eastwood Homes, Lennar Homes, these people who are building these homes. And I said, yeah, but they're the builder. At the bottom line, they want to charge you for the piece of sheetrock that they put in the house. They're going to charge you full price for it, knowing they paid 70 cents for it. You know, and so we talked her through it, and it was eye-opening on both ends, because of the lack of education and the lack of knowledge that she had when she had someone who was representing her that she felt was distrustful. She did not trust the realtor that she had. And so we're learning from experience that we want to build that through communication, through transparency and everything, just so that you're more educated for what you are holding on to for your legacy. We have small children and we know that is the biggest part. We're doing real estate. My little daughter's writing in first grade that the only way to make money is to be a realtor now. And I'm like, go baby, you know, legacy, right? Okay, speak it for mommy. But it's so true that, you know, it's just through experience and through knowledge, it is power and it will get us much further, but we have to know to ask the right questions or just to bring up what you have that's going on. And it could get you a lot further because there are partners, there are programs, there's all these things out here to help our community, and we have to take advantage of it. Because somebody like Cat's dad, somebody's gonna own it.
Right. Somebody is. They're gonna come buy it.
I like to say that one of the things that prevents people from getting to the closing table is getting ahead of themselves. We've given you a pre-approval. Kat and Noel have found a house. You're in the middle of the process. You think everything is done, but you haven't signed the bottom line yet. So guess what? Because you figure you've been pre-approved, you go out and buy a new car. You go out and buy furniture. You go out and just start buying decoration, and then what did you say? Your score drops, or the debt to income ratio is no longer within guidelines, and we are ready to close, and we do a final approval, the final check, and we find out you no longer qualify because you bought that Volvo, and that $700 payment along with your mortgage payment,
Threw it out.
the deal no longer works. Or there's an RN that gets angry with her boss and she quits. I said, you quit? She said, but I'm an RN, I can get a job at any time. I said, well then come back and see me when you have a job. So we were ready to close. And she quit get in the way of you getting what you want.
Right.
So, I guess I said two things, I'm sorry.
No, you're good, thank you, ma'am. And I would say, and I came, I'm no longer in it, but coming from a financial background as well, the hindrance that I saw was that people didn't realize what they had.
Mm.
They don't realize what they have.
No, they
And living beyond their means. Those are the two things I would say.
Yes.
One, not realizing what you had, and not, and this ties in with all that has been said, not taking the time to find out. And I can tell you a story. I had a lady in my office, and I think I preached to her for about a good month and a half about going to payday loans, doing payday loan stuff. And
Should be illegal.
I mean, like this, she wanted to buy a home for her and her grandchildren, and she was renting, and it was difficult for her to rent. She had all these things, but I was preaching to her about how the step that she needed to take in order to get rid of the payday loans and do what you got to do in order to get your credit score up to where it needs to be. So therefore, she could start to the process of trying to get a house, get a loan, and be settled. And I just remember the last day talking to her, I said, listen, you cannot eat steak on a hamburger income. You just can't.
No,
You just can't do it. And she was like, yes, ma'am, I understand. And she was very thankful. But I saw her about 6 months later in court. These payday loans had gotten the best of her, and they were going after her.
Yeah.
And in some aspects, some of this stuff is not only a civil thing, it can not only destroy your credit and your livelihood, it could destroy your life. She was coming up to criminal charges.
Oh my God.
So I'm saying to you is that know and just be aware of where you are, where you stand, and live within that means. If you know that you want to get a home or you want to get property, you're trying to buy from your family members, if you're trying to invest, you're trying to become that entrepreneur, live within that means until you can get there. Start saving. So therefore you can get to that place. And like she said, 6 months, not maybe even a year, maybe take a year, but you can have enough to where you can start working toward your goals. Anybody else?